And it's great to have you join us in another edition of our weekend business program, Capital Market Live on Channels Television. I'm Ladi Williams. As usual, let's take a look at how your money performed in the week. Major equities markets around the globe ended higher as lower than expected U.S. inflation data raised expectations. U.S. Federal Reserve could pivot to a slower pace of interest rate hikes amid prospects of global economic growth. In Europe, the UK's FTSE 100 rose 0.47%. The German DAX climbed by 0.74%, while France's CAC index closed the day with a 0.14% advance. It's a slightly similar picture for markets across Asia-Pacific. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 jumped by 2.62%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index gained 0.46%, while the Shanghai Composite was down by 0.15% on Friday. And in the U.S., stocks rose sharply, clinching the fourth straight positive week for the S&P 500 as investors celebrated signs that inflation may be peaking. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose by 1.27%. The S&P 500 gained 1.73%, while the Nasdaq Composite surged 2.09%. Let's bring in Olumide Adesina now, financial market analyst, to give us a review of this U.S. markets. Hello, Olumide. Great to have you.
Yeah, hello, nice to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Quite a good way for the U.S. markets to close the week. They're all in the green. Is the bear market over?
Well, it looks like that's what the market is singing right now. If you look at the stock market, just like rightly said, there's S&P where you see top 500 listed companies are soaring year to date, and it's really looking more like the positivity is coming into play. The Nasdaq is moving away from the bearish territory, hitting above the 13,000, and that's last time we saw that was in early Q2. So it really brings some positivity. But you know, one would say that the moderation of the CPI numbers really brought excitement and risk on mood into the market. You look at the S&P, for example, it's up 16% from its low. You look at the Nasdaq, it has rebounded more than 22% from its June low, and the Dow also up by 13%. So it's really interesting. Then, you know, there's been some excitement also in the market. Disney, for example, brought in smashing numbers. They have more users than Netflix, and that tells you that investors were betting deeply, and the share was up 13% this week. And also, if you look at utility and energy stocks, they keep consolidating on the fact that energy prices are giving these power giants enough margins. Also, Tesla, despite the fact that Elon Musk sold about $7 billion of his position, the stock has been able to remain above 900, making the car moves. The car listed company, which happens to be the most valuable automobile, hitting near the $1 trillion mark. So it's really been very exciting, Ladi. And the market is really shrugging off the bearish we saw months back.
Olumide, but, you know, when I see, you know, the U.S. markets looking good, somehow it doesn't follow, you know, into the next week. What are you seeing happening next week?
Well, it's very tricky to look at the outlook right now, but to be very dicey to bet against the bulls. Like I said, you look at the fact that Apple is just within a few percent to the record high. This is a company that is already within striking distance to hit the $3 mark. So it tells you that investors are really betting that the US Fed might tamper ammunition. But you know, just like you said, there's still geopolitical uncertainty in the market. We're seeing the Russians still more aggressive in the Ukrainian play. Though energy prices are coming down, we're seeing aggressive move in the American market, but that can't be said in Europe. Energy cost, heat wave, and the fact that the recent biggest rain river close to Germany is having a drought tells you that investors will be looking at that. In Asian markets, you know, China-Taiwan face-off seems to have moderated a bit, but there's still anxiety in that market. And, you know, the Chinese the real estate market has really deepened and caused a lot of systemic concern. So it's really all based on how investors look at it. But right now, I think the bulls are in charge, Ladi.
The bulls are in charge. All right. Thank you so much, Olumide Adesina, financial market analyst. It was great having your perspective.
Thank you.
And back home, at the unlisted securities market, activities at the NASD OTC exchange ended the second week of July in the green, as both the security index and market capitalization recorded a 0.12% advance. At the same time, the NASD market capitalization increased by 100 million naira to close at 1 trillion naira this week. However, the total value of securities traded during the week decreased by 53.07%, as market recorded a total of 142.68 million naira in value against 304.04 million naira in the previous week. However, total volume of securities traded on the exchange increased by 6.52% to 1.82 million units, while the deals rose by 46.51% this week. The duo of Afroland and City Trust Holdings were top advances in price value. Food Concepts is #1 decliner, while the Niger Delta Exploration and Production Company, which has held the number one spot on the decliners table, attracted the highest volume of securities traded. And at the local equities market, investor sentiment ended the second trading week of August on a negative note as the benchmark index dropped by 2.09%. At the same time, the market's total value depreciated by 570.79 billion naira, largely due to intense sell pressure on industrial giants like Dangote and Boa Cement, as well as MTN Nigerian, some Tier 1 banking names. 4 out of the 5 key sectors of the NGX ended in the red, while activity levels were positive. Trading volume and value increased by 114.1 and 5.4% each week to date. All right, now let's bring in Tajudeen Olayinka, now CEO, Wyoming Capital and Partners. Great to have you on the program. Yeah, I don't know if you can you unmute yourself? I didn't think I got that. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. It's a question. Yes, I can hear you, Ladi.
Fantastic, I can hear you now. So quite poor performance, from the local bourse last week, and it's begging the question, are we in a bear market at the moment?
Okay, yes. We can say we are in a bear market, that's right. But, you have to look beyond what has brought about the bearish sentiment. Rather than just call it a bear market, I would call it a period of prolonged repricing of securities by investors. Since CBN moved MPR to 30% in May, and then the subsequent hike, got it up to 14%. And with the signal from CBN that for as long as we are in an environment where inflation is not receding, it keeps going up, then they will also have to hike interest rates. So it's a season of repricing of securities across board, across markets, be it fixed income, be it equity.
Yeah, quite interesting. And, looking at the current state, of the market, do you think is a good entry for those, still on the sidelines? Or should we just, should those people just wait, for maybe more downside?
Well, it depends on the individual's, investment objective, your risk tolerance and, of course, your time horizon, how long you want to be in the market. If you are looking at a long-term, if an investor has a long-term focus, this is the best time to enter the market. Because if you think that the bearish sentiment will continue, by the time the market recovers, you'll be buying at much higher prices. And of course, for those who are trading, who are doing active trading, who probably are not looking at a long-term horizon. They just want to enter now and take money tomorrow. Of course, you need to make proper consultation. Discuss with a professional in that market, especially a stockbroker or an asset management company. Seek advice to know whether this, whether the market is already, is about to bottom out, or we might have bullish sentiment returning very soon. So these are things, investor will need to cross-check before entering the market. But clearly, like I mentioned earlier, we are in a period of repricing of securities across board. So bearish sentiment may continue and it may reverse.
All right, let me take you back to last week's performance. We saw, a downturn there, but what stocks stood out for you in the trading week?
Most all those liquid stocks have been, have been badly dealt with. They are the one actually depressing the market. These are the stocks, speculators and traders are actually playing around with. For that reason, I still see those stocks as something to watch out with, because even though, most of them were on the downside, but there are stocks that I think will make the market in the future as soon as the bullish sentiment return. So for me, I won't say because the prices of those stocks went down, but I will say because those stocks have good future. They are stocks with strong fundamentals, and they are stocks that can actually shape the market going forward.
And I noticed something quite interesting on the final day of trading on Friday. The top gainers list, I saw it was Boa Foods that topped that counter. Then over to the losers counter, I saw Boa Cement. And I found it quite interesting. Did you?
Same thing. In fact, incidentally, you see that the Boa Food went up, with some, I think about 5.something%. And Boa Cement also went down by almost equal margin. So it shows that investors or these active traders, speculators, are actually playing some kind of funny games and timing the market. That's the way I look at it. It's not funny, but it's been an interesting interesting moment for the market generally. I mean, you tend to see some funny things, funny behavior and reactions in the market. So to me, it's not fun that we had it that way. Boa Food and Boa Cement, both of them leading the pack either way.
Do you think that kind of sentiment between both stocks, will continue going forward? Maybe you see this one down, you expect the other one to go up.
Well, you can actually see this. You can see both go up and both also come down. It's just. And if you look at it, it might also be that some investors were switching from one to the other, selling cement to be able to buy the food. And, it goes to show that you can't place it. You can't place it anywhere. It could go either way. And both of them can also move in the same direction at any point in time. That's the market for you. But what I suspect there was that, some investors, especially these active traders or those who are rebalancing portfolio, might have moved from cement to Boa Food, and I think that looked like what actually played out.
Quite interesting, but do you think a bear market is a more dangerous time to invest? Given that many equities have lost value and prices become really volatile, is it a good time to get some your feet in the market?
Well, either it's a bear market or a bull market, you still need to approach a professional, to give you the right advice. For me, I think bear market offers profitable moment. The same way bull market present the same profit opportunity. So it depends on investor, but I think bear market gives you opportunity to come in at very reasonable prices. If you are investing for dividend, or you are looking for opportunity that could come in another 1 or 2 years, it's a good time to enter the market. Bear market offers you that profitable moment, that opportunity. And if you're an active trader, if somebody who's also trying to ride the bull and bear, of course, if you know what has happened, what has led us to to this bearish sentiment, then I would suggest that, or advise rather that such a trader or a speculator can also still position himself to still ride the bull and bear within bear. You can have a bear market where you can have just short-term movement, maybe 2 or 3 days movement, and you take your profit and move on. So far, what you are doing active trading. So bear market offers the same opportunity that bull market offers. So it's actually a good time to buy. What has led us to this situation is something that something that we market has never experienced for for this long. You are having MPR hike on almost on regular basis. At any point that we have an MPC meeting, we are expecting that there might be hike again. And don't forget also that all these things are just reactions to inflation in the economy. So for as long as government is able to tame inflation, or CBN is able to do something to tame inflation, I believe the bear market will be over soon. So it's a good time to buy. Either you are a trader or you are a long-term investor, it's a good time to buy. Nobody should start any fear. It's just because of the reaction to interest rate and happenings in the macroeconomic environment.
Right. I guess Warren Buffett's mantra comes in here: buy when the market is fearful, and sell when the market is excited. All right, I'm going to come back to you after the break. Mr. Tajuddin Olayinka, CEO, Wyoming Capital and Partners, remains with us. We'll be back with the conversation after this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Capital Market Live on Channels Television. Let's take a look at some news, top news from the week. The Securities and Exchange Commission has approved the Nigerian Exchange Limited NGX guidelines on trade execution for fixed income securities through the NGX on manual negotiated deal window. This comes in line with the exchange's efforts to deepen the Nigerian capital market and enhance market liquidity. A statement made by the SEC mentions that the negotiated deal window complements order executions via the central order book and will be used only for permissible volume of fixed income securities on bilateral pre-agreed terms. It adds that trades executed via the negotiated deal window will be recognized for price-setting purposes and will reflect in the exchange's statistics during its trading hours. And dual-listed energy company Seplat Energy says it has not yet been officially notified about the withdrawal of federal government's approval of its $1.28 billion proposed acquisition of the entire share capital of Mobil Producing Nigerian Limited. In a statement released on the Nigerian Exchange Limited's website, Seplat Energy acknowledged that it has become aware of a news report that ministerial approval of the company's deal with ExxonMobil's local subsidiary has been withdrawn, but promised to continue working with relevant parties to conclude the proposed acquisition. On Tuesday this week, a statement from the presidency announced that President Buhari had approved Seplat Energy's PLC's $1.28 billion purchase of ExxonMobil Coal's shallow water business in Nigeria, later reversed his earlier consent following its objection by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC. All right, now, let's get back to the conversation. Now, we have Mr. Tajuddin Olayinka, CEO, Wyoming Capital and Partners. Thank you for staying on.
Thank you, too.
Yeah, so quite interesting turn of events with this Seplat purchase of ExxonMobil. But I'm not seeing any moves with the share price of Seplat with all that's going on. Why is that?
Well, maybe market is still waiting to see a reversal somehow. You can have one reversal and you can have another positive reversal. So what has happened to Seplat, actually with government now withholding assent, is something that is not uncommon in the market. We saw that happen in the case of Ohando in 2013, 2014 or thereabout. And the same thing is actually playing out at this time, against Seplat. So market will not react, negatively, because market still believe that what was to happen was something that could have thrown the company to a very positive territory, in terms of pricing and everything, because it was as if they are trying to take away opportunities that the company can benefit from in future. So we don't know what government will do in future. So market is still waiting to see if we price this stock down now, what if government come back and say, okay, Seplat give you all these conditions. Once you can fulfill these conditions, these conditionalities, we can then go ahead with the transaction. So, but for the time being, it's just a mere withholding of assent. That assent can be given much later. It happened in the case of Ohando, when the Zanima refuse to sign that transaction until after 2 years. So market will still wait to see what can happen in future. But in the interim, Seplat is still operating within the confine of what is available to it. So for that, there is no need for anybody to panic or price it down. Even though market reacted when the possible acquisition was announced, but now that the government is withholding assets, maybe the positive aspect of Seplat will still give investors opportunity to see that security. I think I see it as a stock that the investor can still hold. It's not much of a problem for that company. Rather, I think it's more of a problem to Nigeria itself. If Nigeria can behave this way by withholding assets for on an important transaction, it's not good for this. It's not good. It's not. We should just not be looking at Seplat alone. We should also look at how it affects Nigeria in the area of government taking decisions, in the area of foreign investors coming to the market, especially foreign direct investors. So for me, I think somehow this issue might be settled in future. I don't think it has ended there.
Right, and it'd be interesting to see, if it's a positive settlement, how that's going to impact the share price. I'll be watching out for that. But let's go back now. Since we're in somewhat of a bear market right now, what would you say is the best strategy, going into this time? And when do you think we can see some kind of, silver lining, in this market?
Like I mentioned earlier, for an active trader, for somebody who's just a speculator, what he needs to do, because when you are in a period of prolonged repricing, you can, especially when you anticipate that the inflation rate, the next inflation figure from MBS might also be higher than what we have presently. You might need to sell down and buy back later, or you might need to sell down and enter fixed income security. But don't forget, what is affecting fixed income security is also, creating problem in the equity market. So no market is free of, those negative sentiments, especially with the fact that, we do not know when the inflation spiral will end, or we do not know what decision MPC will take at their next meeting. So for me, I think the best strategy is not to panic. But if you panic, you lose money. This market can reverse tomorrow. That is the way market behave. And if you look at markets across the globe, we have seen positive reversal, especially in the U.S. market and European market. We have seen positive reversal, bullish sentiment returning. Even when most of these problems the problems that are affecting the Nigerian economy or affecting interest rate decision actually come from those environments. So for me, I think for an active trader, the best bet is not to allow the news of the current bearish sentiment, to weigh him or her down. It's like I mentioned earlier, it's a good time to buy, and the strategy is just for you to buy more. If you have already hold, and if you cannot hold, sell and buy back later. But if you hold and you buy more at this time, you stand the chance of making good profit in future, because this market is in fact, the prices are just too low for anybody to ignore. If you have money, go back there and buy more.
Buy more. Buy more. That's the last word there from Mr. Tajuddin Olaika, CEO of Wyoming Capital Partners. It was great having your perspective on the show.
Thank you.
All right, now, so let's get an outlook, expectations for Nigeria's capital market as well as the financial market for next week. Well, in the coming week, the traders expect the outcome of the August 2022 FGN auction holdings on Monday, August the 15th, to influence sentiments at the bond secondary market. At the auction, the Debt Management Office will offer instruments worth 225 billion naira through reopenings of the 13.53% FGN March 2025 and 12.5% FGN April 2032 and 13% FGN January 2042 bonds. For the Treasury bills, it's expected to remain tepid following the thin liquidity expected in the system. Overnight rates at the money markets expected to tilt upward next week, as 100 billion naira expected from the OMA maturities may not be sufficient to offset the outflows from CBN's auctions at the equities market. Traders expect cautious trading actions from dividend yield-seeking investors amid intermittent profit-taking activities. The markets, particularly fixed income, will also be focusing on a July inflation report expected to be released by the MBS on Monday next week. And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.